What happened to the 4 QBs drafted before Jalen Hurts in the 2020 NFL Draft? Since entering into the league, Jalen Hurts has proven to be amongst the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Jalen Hurts was selected in the second round, number 53 overall by the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Philadelphia Eagles select Carson Wentz.
His selection was a shock to most Eagles fans, since at the time, the Eagles had given a long-term contract to QB Carson Wentz. Using a second-round pick for a day-one backup didn't make a lot of sense. Eagles general manager Howie Roseman even said drafting Jalen Hurts was not a threat to Wentz. But since then, Wentz has been traded and bounced around a few teams. While Jalen Hurts, who started as a backup to Wentz, has become the long-term solution for the Eagles, Hurts has also been named multiple-time Pro Bowler and has even led the Birds to a Super Bowl appearance. But what about the other quarterbacks taken before Jalen Hurts in the 2020 NFL Draft? How have their careers panned out so far? Let's take a look and see what they've done. Here are the 4 QBs drafted before Jalen Hurts in the 2020 NFL Draft. The first quarterback taken in the 2020 NFL Draft was known by literally anyone who had watched college football that season. With the first pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals selected Joe Burrow from LSU. Burrow was the obvious choice at number 1, having an incredible senior year, 65 total touchdowns, while only throwing 6 interceptions on 527 attempts. For his efforts, he was awarded the Heisman Trophy, which is given to the best player in college football, and led that LSU squad to a national title victory over Clemson. Quite simply, one of the greatest college football seasons of all time. Since entering into the league, he's had a great career so far. His rookie year in 2020 was cut short due to injury, but the Bengals made an effort to draft players around Burrow to nurture his growth, and came back stronger in 2021 to lead the Bengals to a Super Bowl appearance versus the Los Angeles Rams, where their championship dreams ultimately fell short. In his 4th completed season in the NFL, Burrow has just been a star for the Bengals franchise, even earning himself a long-term contract extension of $275 million over 5 years, keeping him in Cincinnati for the foreseeable future. He's battled through some injuries, but overall, I think Bengals fans would tell you they're happy with their franchise QB. The next quarterback taken in the 2020 NFL Draft was a national champion. With the 5th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins selected Alabama star Tua Tagovailoa. Ironically, Tua has quite the history with Jalen Hurts from their college days. Tua played sparingly as a freshman at Alabama, as he served as a backup to none other than Jalen Hurts. Tua played mostly at the end of games where the Crimson Tide was blowing out their opponent, until the national championship game. Jalen Hurts got off to a miserable start in the national championship game against Georgia, and head coach Nick Saban made the move to bench Jalen Hurts for Tua. And Tua delivered, throwing for 3 touchdown passes and led the Crimson Tide to a national championship over their conference rivals. The following college football season in 2018, Tua was named the starter for his sophomore year, and Jalen Hurts served as backup. And in 2018, Tua shined, throwing for almost 4,000 yards and 43 touchdowns, while finishing up second to Kyler Murray in the Heisman voting. His junior year at Alabama was on pace to be just as good, if not better, than his sophomore year, but he suffered an injury that cut his year short. He opted to focus on recovery and prepare for the NFL Draft. Since being drafted 5th overall, Tua has had a solid pro career with the Dolphins. However, the average Dolphins fans would probably tell you they feel there's been a lost potential over his first few years in the league, since Tua has been battling injuries, mostly concussions. Despite the injuries, Tua signed the biggest contract extension in Dolphins franchise history in July 2024. The deal highlights $212.4 million over 4 years, with $167 million guaranteed. Funny how both Tua and Jalen both spent time being backups to each other in college, but now lead NFL franchises making big money. The next QB taken in the 2020 NFL Draft was Justin Herbert, who was drafted 6th overall by the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert had a good career at Oregon, while not nearly the same team or individual accolades that our previously mentioned quarterbacks achieved. Everyone who watched could see that Herbert had NFL potential. Every year at Oregon, he got better, and the team did better as a result. The Ducks finished with a record of 12-2 in Justin Herbert's senior year. His rookie season in the NFL started with a little bit of drama. Herbert was slated to be a backup to veteran Tyrod Taylor until Tyrod Taylor suffered a collapsed lung in pre-game warmups in Week 2 of the 2020 season against the Kansas City Chiefs. Despite the 20-23 loss, Justin Herbert jumped in and threw for over 300 yards. The starting job has been his ever since. Herbert looked very good in his young career. He can make every throw on the field and can put up the big stats. For his efforts, the Chargers awarded Herbert with a 5-year, $262 million contract to remain the Chargers' signal caller for years to come. If you were to ask the Chargers fans, they would probably tell you they love Herbert, but the challenge in bettering his career is surrounding him with pieces and playmakers. It is the first year with coach Jim Harbaugh, and Herbert is thriving in the new culture, and the Chargers look like a playoff team. The next quarterback taken after Herbert in the 2020 NFL Draft certainly initiated a lot of conversation. With the 26th pick, the Green Bay Packers drafted Jordan Love. Jordan Love had a solid college career at Utah State and declared for the NFL after his junior year. His junior year stats certainly caused some conversation since he threw for 20 touchdowns but also threw 17 interceptions. Not exactly the touchdown to interception ratio you're looking for. Moreover, the Utah State Aggies finished with a record of 7-6, which is a far cry from their 11-2 record in Love's sophomore year. Perhaps it was Love's brilliance in his sophomore year that gave the lasting impression on the Packers. Love's selection caused a lot of confusion, since the aging Aaron Rodgers had just come off another career year, and the Packers had a deep playoff run and was one game away from the Super Bowl, but suffered a depressing loss in the NFC Championship game to the San Francisco 49ers, where they allowed almost 300 yards of rushing to the Niners offense. You'd think if you were one game away from the Super Bowl and you lost because you couldn't stop the run, you'd maybe draft a stud to help on defense, right? Not the Packers. They opted to use a high draft pick on Jordan Love, a day-one backup to Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love spent his first couple of seasons as a quiet backup, as Aaron Rodgers was still playing well. His first full season was 2023, where he threw for over 4,000 yards and 32 touchdowns and led a young Green Bay Packers team to a playoff win over the Cowboys, leaving the fan base with much to be excited for. After the season, the Packers showed their belief in Jordan Love to the tune of offering a 4-year, $220 million contract, including a $75 million signing bonus and over $160 million guaranteed. Despite getting off to a very unusual and awkward start in his NFL career, Jordan Love gives the Packers fan base something to be excited about. He has big playability and has been able to get the most out of his young offensive weapons. After Jordan Love was taken, there wasn't another quarterback taken until the 53rd overall pick, where the Philadelphia Eagles took their franchise quarterback, Jalen Hurts. As mentioned earlier, Hurts is beloved in Philadelphia. Like the previously mentioned quarterbacks in this video, Jalen Hurts has also signed a contract extension to stay with the team who drafted him, as the Eagles locked him up for a 5-year, $255 million contract to stay in Philadelphia. His first year in Philadelphia, Hurts mostly stood on the sideline while occasionally being brought in on gadget plays that would ultimately disrupt the flow of the defense. Hurts only got meaningful playing time after Carson Wentz got benched, but he quickly blossomed into a top-tier QB with elite running ability. As of the time of this video, Jalen Hurts only trails Josh Allen and Cam Newton in career rushing touchdowns by a QB all time. Granted, many of those touchdowns came via the popular play, the tush push. Jalen Hurts is a leader, well-respected in the locker room, and a guy the city is proud to have represent their team. Overall, not a bad crop of quarterbacks. Every quarterback in this video has signed a long-term deal at the time of this video. They all are playing at a high level. I think each fan base of these quarterbacks would be relatively happy with where their teams have gone since draft night. So how would you rank the QBs we've talked about? They've all signed long-term deals. 2 of them have gone to Super Bowls, and they've all led their teams to the playoffs, even though Tua and Herbert were without playoff wins. But you can't deny all of these quarterbacks have their case for greatness. These guys are still young in their careers, but let us know in the comments how you'd rank the careers of these quarterbacks so far. And subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos just like this. See you in the next one.